Welcome back to the College Football Pick'em Pod. It's been 6 full weeks of the college football season, and we haven't done a damn thing about it. But Will was like, you know what, Phil, we got to do this again. And I was like, we probably should. We probably should do something. We've been doing this for Canes Insight 2 years in a row. And it was a lot of fun. It went really well. And then obviously with all the chaos going around, was there going to be college football? Was there not? Thankfully, some of the bigger conferences had backbones and just stood up to the Big Ten so we could actually get a college football season. And here we go. And actually the college football season has been running a little bit smoother than the NFL season because they kind of expected bad things to happen. And I think that was the smart way to go about it. So here we are, College Football Pick'em Pod. It only took us till week 6. Week 6. Did you hear that, Will? Week 6. Makes no sense. I can't believe we're here already.
Yeah, I can't believe it's already week 6 and that we've actually gotten to week 6 where we're at, where we have actually some really good matchups. And I think so many people were down on this college football season, like, oh, it's not going to be real. It's just in conference play, like shorter schedules. Like there's so many reasons why this isn't a normal season and people might not have been excited. But now that we're in it, I'm like, this football season is going awesome so far, especially if you're a Miami fan. Shout out Canes Insight, obviously. But I'm loving this season. We didn't even really think about, starting this up because it was just like, okay, who knows what's going to happen. But now that we're in it, I'm kind of mad that we didn't start doing this earlier. I know we've both been really busy with things, but I hope this is the first of many weeks in this 2020 weird season that we have so far.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit more real now that the SEC is actually going. The Big Ten is coming back. The Pac-12 is coming back. Not that anybody really gives a crap about the Pac-12.
Yes, Pac-12 is back.
Will and I both live in California, and we don't give a crap about the Pac-12. Like when they were going through all of this, like which conferences are going to play and which aren't, I was like, man, I really hope the Mountain West plays. I don't even care if the Pac-12 plays. Like I'm pretty sure, Will, I know you're a huge MAC guy. Were you disappointed that the MAC was canceled more than the Pac-12?
Of course, you need that weekday action. That's huge. And as you mentioned, the Mountain West, like the Hawaii games, really late night, whether you're on the East Coast or West Coast, they get pretty late. And there's always that one last game on. So that's awesome. I mean, I'm still happy to have the Pac-12 back. I grew up watching Pac-12 football, and I've said on this podcast much. I grew up a Stanford fan. I don't like. The Pac-12 though, when they said they're coming back, it was like, okay, like cool. Like we were already in the middle of the season. I'm already enjoying it. The Big 12 had already announced they're coming back. So am I happy? Yes. But was it like this big announcement? It was like, we kind of saw that coming.
Yeah, no, it was all as soon as the bigger conferences didn't back down when the Big 10 and Pac-12 said they weren't playing, it was like, well, they'll be playing by November. There's no doubt about it. And sure enough, here they come. This is going to be a little bit different for me this time around because, as all of you know, I've been doing my website, betonphilwood.com. That's been something that I've really been pushing, started it up once all the bubble play and everything started in the NBA, the NHL, the MLB. I've been just going crazy with it for about 2.5 months, and I've teamed up with the Easy Ceasy Stat Network, and it's a guy who runs data analytics models, and he's got these models for betting, and him and I have teamed up, and we have essentially decided that we're going to try to monetize it in some way, shape, or form. Now, all of that being said, I'm still giving away plenty for free. So anybody who's been following along with me since the beginning, you're still going to be getting some free stuff. I put out my pick for the Miami game on the website for free, so you can check that out there. But otherwise, there's a form. There's actually a link in this video where you can go sign up. You can get like the first week of college football games. It's my top 5 college football picks and my top 5 NFL picks, which is what you'd be paying for. Plus, we have a Thursday night game and a Friday night game this week, one for college, one for pro, which is a separate little package. But all of that is just to say you won't be getting my top 5 college football picks here. But if you followed Will and I throughout the history of this podcast, we have a tendency to throw about 20 picks out there every week anyway. And actually, our records have been pretty damn good, despite the fact that we're throwing out millions of picks every season.
Yeah, and your records, to be fair, have been better than mine. I think we both did come out on top last season. I think I barely did. Like, I think I needed the bowl season to even just break even. So it makes sense that you're now packaging your picks and, selling them because your picks have been that good. You've been stomping me. I hope maybe I can stomp you on this podcast and that can give me, confidence that I go package my picks. I don't know if I'll ever get there, But either way, it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be talking through all the big games. We have a lot of big games this week, and I really like the board. But yeah, definitely check Phil's picks out. I can't vouch for what you exactly get because I haven't gotten it before. I hope he'll just give it to me as a co-host. Do I get like a free package, or I got to sign up?
I'll have to talk to Mike about it and see if he's okay with it. Because that's the one big thing that I wanted to push here. So my last little pitch here is I didn't want it to just be picks. Anybody can just throw picks out to anybody. Anybody can say Canes plus 14 and then just do it. You're getting analytics, you're getting modeling, you're getting my take. You're going to get a small video each week that explains why the model and I agree or why the model and I disagree, where we think there might be some confusion and why we think all that. So you're getting a lot. And that was our key. We wanted to actually sell a product instead of being one of those, Fugazis who ends up throwing out their BS pick of, oh, this is my lock of the week. And then when it doesn't hit, they don't tell you about it. If you've followed Will and I since the beginning of the College Football Pick'em Pod, you know that we show up every week, no matter how freaking awful we do. And we've had
we are accountable. We keep each other accountable. We make sure that, I had some weeks where I went like 3-11. But I also had a couple weeks where I went like 12-2. So, I mean, it goes up and it goes down. Definitely that's exciting what you got going on. And I'm very proud of you. Definitely check out Phil's, what do you call him? Bet on Phil?
Bet on Phil. That's what we're doing. We're calling it that. And it's powered by Easy CZ Stat Network. The guy knows what he's doing. I took a class with him over the summer. He teaches sports analytics. He's unreal. Brilliant guy. So if you're interested in that, check it out. There's a link on the YouTube video. And every week it'll be a thing. We're not locking you in for like a year and charging an outrageous price. It's literally, you can just do 1 week of college or 1 week of NFL, or you can do both, or you can just try out the weeknight games, which I think is like, we're literally charging like $5 for 2 picks or something like that. So it's
really cheap compared to like these big sports consultants. So
get in now,
guys. Check it out. All right.
Before my head.
Before you take off, let's get into it. I'm just so excited. Or do we want to set up the rules again? Because I know maybe we should have a refresher on how it works.
I think that's what I was going to go with here. I was going to say we need to let everybody know how we do this because we do it on a unit basis essentially, but we do it as easier like 10, 15, 20. Just a little bit simpler, but it's 1, 2, 3 unit. It doesn't really matter.
I'm going to be different than 1, 2, 3 unit because a 3 unit would be versus a 1 would be 3 times value than 1. We do 10, 15, 1, 1.5, 2. So that, there you go.
I get it. My bad. So it's three different tiers though. We only do that though, because we always start with 200 fake, as Will would call them, daddy dollars at the beginning of the year. We start with 200 each. And then we go from there and we see what it was. I know in the first year we did this, I ended up like 565 or something. Like I was ridiculous year 1. Year 2, both of us were a little bit cooler. Maybe college football betting has just gotten a little bit tougher now that it's gotten legalized pretty much everywhere. But we'll see how we do this year. We'll see if I can beat Will anyway without even giving my best picks of the week. Let's see if I'm that good.
That would be pretty embarrassing. But it still might happen. All right, let's get into it now that we've set up the rules. We have a game on Thursday night, tomorrow night, and I like this game. I don't love it, but I'm curious. Do you have anything for Tulane visiting Houston?
I don't know enough about Houston this year. Tulane isn't very good. That I know. Navy beat Tulane, and I was on Navy in that game to cover whatever their spread was, and they were losing 21-0, and they somehow won the game 24-21, which was unreal. But
it was a huge comeback. It was crazy.
Amazing game. But then Navy just got destroyed by Air Force last week, and Navy got destroyed by BYU. Like, Navy's not good. Tulane's not good. But that's really all I know about these teams. I don't know much about Houston except, thank you, we will take De'Ara King any day of the week. That's essentially what I know about the Houston Cougars. What do you like here?
So I actually like Tulane in this game. It's at 6.5. So I will take those points, and maybe it goes up. I only have $10 on it. And my only reasoning here is basically Tulane has played 3 games, and Houston hasn't played a game yet. And in a season where there's no spring ball, there's no training camp, you use your first games essentially as practice. And even if Houston is the better team, I can see Tulane winning just because they've had 3 games under their belt. And that's really the play here. Again, it's only a $10 bet for me. I don't love this, but it's, the only Thursday night game. You want action on it. I really think Tulane has a chance of beating this team, and you're getting 6.5 points. That's good enough for me. So not a ton of I don't like you said, I don't know these teams that well. I don't think Tulane is very good, but Houston, they haven't been able to play a single game yet, and just having 3 games, it's not like Tulane's played one game. They've played 60 minutes 3 separate times. Houston could be just totally out of rhythm for the first half. Tulane could take a lead. They could blow the lead like they did against Navy, but still cover the 6.5 points. So that's why I'm taking Tulane.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like I said, the Houston, I have no feel for it. I have nothing going on here. They're in the American. We didn't mention the American Athletic Conference when we were talking about our athletic conferences. UConn isn't playing. No matter what happens, UConn still isn't playing. Somebody I just imagine the little New Orleans people carrying the casket. That's what I just imagine every time now I think about UConn's football season. They were so fun to bet against last year. It's really a shame that we don't get to watch them come out and just lay a turd all over the football field, because they are terrible at football. But I don't know enough about Houston there, so I'm not sure. Probably if I was going to do anything, I would do the lowest amount on that as well. What do you have for Saturdays? Because the Friday game is one of my pay to play bets, so I don't want to say anything on that one. But I have something on the Louisville Georgia Tech game. But what's your first place you're looking when you get to Saturday?
I do have something on the Friday game. I do have something on Louisville GT, and I'm not sure if this is what you have or not. But I'm going to give out my pick. I don't think. But I actually here. So the over under set at 64, and that might seem a little bit high. But I actually like the over here. And this is when I don't know if I'd play if it weren't the only game on Friday night. But it's good to have action, and what's more fun than rooting for points. So I like the over 64. Number one, Louisville just has a bad defense. We've seen that as Miami fans. They were leaving people totally wide open. We put up 47 on them. We had 2 plays, 2 75-yard TDs. And then against Pitt, they looked a little better, I guess, but Pitt still had some big plays. There's one play where the Pitt receiver caught the ball and they sort of tackled him, but his knee didn't touch, and he just ran to the end zone 20 more yards for a touchdown. They give up big plays. So I Louisville's defense, I have no trust. I don't think they're good at all. And then on the other side, Georgia Tech, I know we always think of them as a run team. They're great for unders usually, but they don't run the triple option anymore. They pass a lot more than they used to. And Louisville's defense is that bad, where I think Georgia Tech is going to be able to score. 7 of the last 8 Louisville games have gone over. 4 of the last GT games have gone over. The only Louisville game out of those 8 to not go over was the Pitt game last week. And Louisville didn't even look that good. It was kind of a clunky game. And that's just Pitt. Pitt is going to be an under team, all season long. So I think with Louisville's bad defense, and Georgia Tech doesn't have a good defense either, I just think these offenses will be able to put up points. So 64, it sounds high, especially for Georgia Tech. I get it sounds high, but I do like it going over here. I think both teams get into the 30s pretty easily.
Well, if you want the right pick of the week, remember the form, the sign up is below. If you want the right pick of the week,
does the model not agree with me?
I'm not going to say anything.
Can't say it. I know.
I'm not going to say anything. I told you that any of the games that I had, you could still make your picks, but I wasn't going to say anything just because, look, it wouldn't be fair for me to be like, hey, this is how I feel about that game. And then also the people who spend the $5 or whatever the hell they're spending.
Of course.
It's not fair. So I'm not going to say anything. I'm just going to say I have a pick on this game. I feel pretty good about it. It's actually, if you buy that pick, you also get my Thursday night football pick. So I think seriously, it's so, and we're doing 25% off. BOP 25. That's all you got to type in. It's so simple. So anyway, we just want people to sign up and see that it's fun and that it's good and that it's useful. And then hopefully you can tell people, hey, this is actually pretty good. So I'm going to avoid that. Will, I am going to go with an over though. And I'm going to go with an absolutely obnoxious over. And I don't give a damn. I am taking Texas and Oklahoma to go over 72 in this game. It's only 10. I only got 10 on it, but I'm going to do it because these teams are garbage. These are terrible football teams, mostly on the defensive end of the ball. Sam Ehlinger did not look good at all last week. I had actually taken Texas over TCU, and I was wrong. I'm 10-5-1 on the season so far in college, so I don't feel too bad, but that was a pick that I was wrong on. But in this one, I'm going to go with the over, and I'm just going to sit back and I'm going to watch these two incompetent defenses just miss tackles all game long.
I am on the other side of this. I think this goes under, and I think it goes under not super easily, but I actually feel pretty good about this one. I also got something on the spread here. This game is really, really tricky. Like, I went back and forth. Like, who's going to win? Like, I don't know, because Oklahoma lost last week. They're now sitting at 0-2 in conference play. Texas lost last week. Like, they both desperately need wins. And if you're Texas and you're looking at Oklahoma and they're this bad, like, they're not themselves right now, this is like a great opportunity to beat Oklahoma and maybe even beat them convincingly. So there's desperation on both sides, like massive desperation. Like, the fact that one of these teams is going to lose this game is like that program is going to be not too happy. Like, they're going to be looking pretty bad. So I actually think the under is the right play here because the number's at 72. I think that's way too high. I think desperation games always favor defenses. That extra motivation, it's the tackling, it's the pressure up front. Whereas on offense, yeah, you're going to try your best to block and run your fat. Like, you're going to play hard, but I just think that extra motivation really helps the defense. And I don't think these offenses, like you said, Sam Ehlinger did not look good. So I have 10 on the under of 72, but I'm also going to take Oklahoma minus 2.5. And the way I arrived at it, I feel like the way I arrived at this actually should lean towards me betting on Texas, but I'll kind of walk through my thinking. Because I don't know, this Texas team feels like the Texas team we've seen the past few years, doesn't it? Like, it feels like the same. Like, they lost to TCU like they always do. Sam Ehlinger is the QB. They have a lot of starters on returning on offense and defense. Like, they feel like that normal Texas team. Whereas, like, Oklahoma is a bunch of new faces. You have Spencer Rattler at QB. They don't have that, like, go-to QB. They had the transfer Jalen Hurts, obviously, last year, but then they had Kyler Murray, then they had Baker Mayfield. Like, they've always had this stud QB, and Spencer Rattler, he's a redshirt freshman. Like, he's just getting adjusted. So basically what I'm saying is I think Oklahoma, we can give them a pass that they've looked not themselves in this early part of the season because they're still figuring it out. Like I said, with the whole training camp and practicing and all that, like, that is going to hurt you way more when you have new players coming in versus this Texas team. Like, this is pretty much the same, not the exact same, but it's a very similar Texas team that we've seen, and they're still having all these issues. Like, they still can't move the ball on offense. Like, they're this kind of mediocre still, whereas Oklahoma is bringing in all these new faces. I think they have like 2 freshman running backs that are getting touches. Like, it's a lot for them to just get ready immediately. And now that their like backs are completely against the wall, I think Oklahoma is the better team. And I think they'll be able to, like, we know what Texas is. In Oklahoma, I still don't know. Like, they could still be really good. They still could rattle off like however many wins, win the Big 12, go to the playoff. Like, that's still possible in this crazy season with COVID and everything. So I'm going to take Oklahoma minus 2.5, which I think is a pretty good number to get it at.
Well, Oklahoma ain't making the playoff because they've lost 2 games. They lost to Kansas State and Iowa State. So they ain't making the playoff.
But this is a season where you might not see undefeated teams. You might
the
get
Big Ten's playing 4 games.
I mean, it's not a normal season, so I'm more willing to give Oklahoma the pass with all these new players coming in than I am to look at Texas and say, okay, they're going to figure out in a week, even though they've had all these players. Whereas, like, Oklahoma just hasn't had this time, and now they've got like this huge rivalry game. They're looking at an 0-3 hole in conference play. That would be insane. And I just don't think Lincoln Riley and these talented players are going to let that happen. And I'm not saying Texas is going to roll over. I just don't think they have it in them because we've seen this team. Like, we know what this Texas team is.
Yeah, Texas sucks. I hate that they're I really do. No, and this is a frustration for me, and we've talked about this a lot on this podcast. I hate when teams are ranked preseason, and I get why they have to do it, especially in this season, though. The preseason rankings are garbage. Like, it's just absolute nonsense. Texas was ranked number 8 to start the year. Are you out of your mind? I don't care if the only conference playing was the Big 12. They still barely cracked the top 8. Like, they were up there. And then
were they 9th? They're the worst team in the Big 12.
Yeah, I know, because there's not 12 teams. I know. But But then they almost lose to Texas Tech, which was an absolute joke. And what they drop? One spot. So it's not shocking that they ended up losing. Anyway, I agree with you on it.
I think they started 8 because I don't think they were ranking like Big Ten teams then. But like now they're starting to rank Big Ten teams. It's in like, so there's like, what, Ohio State and Penn State are both like in the top 10 without playing a game.
And we're like at week 6. Until what, November? What do they start? October 31st or?
I'm not sure when they start. I know.
Honestly, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to say it here. College football is not really missing the Big Ten or the Pac-12.
I'm having a great time. Well, it's just frustrating because like starting the season later, like nothing changed between like late August and now like mid-October or early November. Like nothing significantly changed with the pandemic. Like there still isn't a vaccine. Like you're still getting what you're getting with testing. And now you've just made fewer weeks for buys. Like now you have no room for error because you're cramming in like 8 games into 8 weeks. And if you have anything go wrong, your season loses its integrity. Like it's a wash. Whereas these conferences that have started earlier, like they planned like, hey, if we have a COVID outbreak, like we have all this room to, you know, postpone and like replay, like reschedule games. So that's the big loss. I feel like it's just that time.
Well, and look at Virginia Tech. I mean, they missed, I think their first 2 games had to be postponed. And of course, a lot of the people were
Houston hasn't played a game yet.
Yeah, cancel the season. But I mean, look, here's the way I look at it. As we're recording this, the MLB playoffs are going. And I said this in one of my articles, but the MLB playoffs are playing. When there was an outbreak, everybody wanted the season to be canceled. Everybody wants the season to be canceled for the NFL now that the Titans are having an outbreak. Everybody wanted the season to be canceled when Virginia. Stop wanting to cancel seasons. If you don't like football, don't watch freaking football. I don't understand. Like, it's on your TV. Nobody, like, just leave me alone. Leave me alone and let me pick Virginia Tech because I like Virginia Tech at +5 over North Carolina. Now, North Carolina is one of those teams, again, comes into the season way overrated. They're just so overrated. Virginia Tech had a wonky start to their season. They kind of got screwed because of the whole pandemic. It was eating up a lot of their time. They just beat Duke 38-31. Not really too impressive. They knocked off NC State 45-24 the week before that, which was a lot more impressive. Especially since NC State just came out and knocked off Pittsburgh last week in Pitt, which I'm going to be talking about NC State in a second here. But I like Virginia Tech to cover in this game, and I like them to possibly win because I think UNC is a little fake right now, a little phony. I'm not really sold on them. They killed Syracuse in week 1, but they killed them in the second half. The first half, they did not look very good. And then they came out in week 2, and they, like, I mean, their week 2 was 3 weeks later, but they very nearly lost.
See, to Boston that's my thing with UNC. Like, I kind of give them, like, not a total pass for that BC game because they should have, like, blown BC out if they are. What are they ranked right now? Aren't they, like, in the top 10?
No, BC ain't ranked anything.
No,
UNC's ranked 8.
No, that's what I'm saying. UNC's ranked 8, and you're playing BC, and you, like, kind of squeak out a win there. But, again, they had 21 days since their last game in the middle of a season. Like, that's going to affect a team. Like, I don't care what, like, that's going to mess. You usually play 1 game a week, maybe 1 bye in the whole entire season, maybe 2 byes. But having 3 bye weeks in a row, or maybe, what was it, 2 bye weeks in a row? Either way, when you're not seeing the field for that long, that's going to mess with you. So I'm not totally out on UNC just because of that game. BC doesn't look all that bad either. So maybe BC isn't as bad as we think. Virginia Tech, also hard to get a read on them. I don't have anything on this game because this is tough with 2 teams that have had issues with COVID. It's hard to kind of get a full read of what's going on with them. So I'm staying out of this game.
Yeah, I only got 10 on VT, but I like them at +5. I think it's a lot of points in a game that I expect to be high scoring, and I think it could just be a field goal game at the end. I really do. Or one of those 31-27 or something like that. You know what I mean? Where it ends as a 4-point game. I could see it being something along those lines. I like VT to keep this one closer. I just think, look, UNC had way too much hype coming into this season. I think right now, and we'll see what ends up happening with the Canes this week, but I think right now it's very clear that Clemson and Miami and Notre Dame are the 3 best teams in the ACC. In my write-up, I did have one of these ACC games, and I said this is one of those good ACC games because every year we're told that ACC games are good because we need to pretend that ACC games are good, and I just don't think that's necessarily the case. This is a top 25 matchup, UNC versus Virginia Tech. Who cares? I mean, who really can like it's not an exciting match. Like that's what cracks me up. Clemson's playing Miami. Obviously, everybody cares. I have more interest in who I don't have more interest. I can't even lie, but I have more interest in whoever Alabama is playing this week. Or look, Tennessee and Georgia, another top 25.
That's going to be a good game. Yeah,
another top 25 matchup. That's what everybody's talking about. UNC and Virginia Tech, who cares that they're a top 25 matchup? Like it doesn't make sense, but I actually think Virginia Tech is super underrated this year. I think because of their past years of being a little unsuccessful, it's kind of carried over into this season. So I'm going to go with VT at +5. Only put 10 on it because, like I said, not one of my top 5 picks.
At 4.5 actually. Oh, but you're taking it. You saw +5.
I'm on DraftKings right now. I see it at +5.
Okay.
So,
all right.
I have one more 9 a.m. game that I want to do here. And then,
okay. Yeah, I don't really have the times up, but
okay. Yeah, I'm just going down DraftKings. So I have one more 9 a.m. game, and I have NC State at +9 against Virginia. And give my guys some respect. This is a 15 play for me. NC State deserves more respect than they're getting. And again, I think this goes to the fact that I think Virginia Tech is better than people are giving them credit for. Virginia Tech beat NC State pretty bad, 45-24 in their for both teams' first games of the season. I don't hold it against NC State very much. I don't hold it against Virginia Tech. I don't give Virginia Tech more credit. I'm just saying that with what I've seen NC State do, and I was on them with Pittsburgh last week. It was my lock of the week for college football. They were 14,
I was on the game too. Yeah.
They were 14-point dogs and won the game outright. Pittsburgh should not be 14-point favorites over anybody.
Anyone.
Because they're a defensive-minded team. However, I look at this Virginia team and I say, what are we so impressed by that they deserve to be 9-point favorites over NC State? I haven't seen anything from Virginia in either one of their games to start this season. One, their 18-point victory over Duke. I don't care. I think Duke might be the worst team in the ACC this year, with the exception, obviously, of the Seminoles. You know, hello, they're not garbage, are they? But other than with the exception of Florida State, I think that Duke is the worst team in the ACC right now. They're not showing me anything at all. So cool. Virginia beat them by 18, comes out. They didn't look good against Clemson.
I thought they did. See, this is where I disagree with you. And like,
did.
I was pretty down on Virginia. Okay, they didn't look great, but like, you're not going to look great playing against Clemson. I'm sorry. Hopefully Miami can somehow. We'll get to that. But I do think I was really down on Virginia. I think last year they were kind of the darling of the ACC, a dark horse to win the ACC. I don't think they really blew out expectations, but I don't think this year they were going to be as good, and for good reasons. And they kind of like they didn't like take it to Clemson, but they did not roll over it. Like they showed fight, and they weren't a team because I actually had Clemson -28. I thought it was going to be a blowout. I was like, oh, this Virginia team. I was really down on them. Like everything you're saying in this game did kind of change my mind. With this NC State, like you're saying, I do like NC State. I was on them last week, but it's kind of like I don't know. These middling ACC teams have always been such a tough thing to crack. Like, because each week you just don't know what you're going to get. Like NC State, they looked really good last week. They could lay an egg and get blown out Virginia. Like that would not surprise me at all. So I don't have anything in this game. I don't have anything on the VT game. These games, I don't have something I can like tangibly grasp. Like I know what this team is about.
See, here's my reasoning for this. I think Devin Leary is going to just go off against Virginia's defense.
He looked good.
Obviously, Trevor Lawrence had a good game. Trevor Lawrence is Trevor Lawrence. Devin Leary's not. But Devin Leary had a great game against Pittsburgh's defense. And I think Pittsburgh's defense is one of the better units in the ACC, even if I think they're overrated. I still think it's one of the better units. So I like Devin Leary to put up points here. I worry that Brennan Armstrong for Virginia isn't going to be able to do as much against NC State's defense. Now, NC State's defense isn't great by any means. I'm not saying that. But I think it's an issue for Virginia when they start to play. Yes, they just played Clemson, but now you're coming off losing your Super Bowl. That was your early season Super Bowl. NC State, they have one loss on the season so far, but they're not out of any type of hunt yet or anything like that. And I think that Virginia could have a little bit of a come down of like, damn, we just lost our Clemson game. NC State comes out, and I think it's an issue for Virginia that their leading guy everywhere on offense is Brennan Armstrong. The fact that like if he could throw the ball to himself, he would be the leading receiver on the team, I think is a problem for them. And I think that's going to make things difficult for them moving forward. He led the team in rushing last week, 22 carries for 89 yards. He also is obviously their quarterback. So he had 270 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 2 interceptions. I just think that becomes easier to cover as the season goes on because you can adjust to this type of quarterback, especially when it's not like he's Lamar Jackson. It's not like he's Russell Wilson. Like he's just Brennan Armstrong. And so I think NC State's going to have an okay time getting over a touchdown in this game. I don't know. To me, it feels too good. So I like it. And I'm going to take NC State.
Go for it. Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. And I hear what you're saying. You want to rattle off whatever the rest of the noon games are and see if I have anything. So we are going in some kind of order. I don't know.
Yeah, so we have LSU, Missouri.
All right, let me do that. Let's talk about LSU, Missouri, because I'm seeing this line at -20.5. Is that right?
No, it changed. It moved.
To what?
Because LSU is no longer the home team. They moved the game to Columbia, Missouri because of Hurricane Delta coming through. So now LSU is technically playing a road game -14.
What? -14 now?
Yeah.
Even better. Holy. I don't know what. I don't know what's going on. LSU is gonna. I think week 1 against Mississippi State was such a fluke, and I get it. Like LSU pretty much lost everybody. Jamar Chase opted out. Like they don't have this national championship team that they had last year, but they still have a ton of talent, and they're still well coached. And I think they were playing a Mississippi State team with like a brand new coach, brand new system, no tape out on them, and they got. And again, I'll say it, like no preseason, no training camp, no spring ball, none of that. I will give LSU that pass. I was on them last week, -21 against Vandy. They smoked Vandy. What was it, like 45-7?
Yeah.
And I think this is another one where people are like, okay, LSU lost everyone. They're no good. I'm gonna fade LSU. I completely disagree with that. And if they're only 14 points, I think. I mean, what has Missouri done to give us any?
They screwed me on the under in week 1 against Bama. I had the under, and they kept calling timeouts and scored on the last play of the game to push it over.
I mean, Missouri is a bottom feeder of the SEC. You know, they're 0-2. Like it's not like we've seen anything from Missouri this season. It's like, oh, they're on the up. So I don't know why this line is that low. I got $20 on this. This is not my one lock of the week, but like this is one I feel really good about. I don't know why I'm really giving LSU a pass for that week 1 matchup. They had everything stacked against them, just not knowing at all what Mississippi State was going to be. And again, all this COVID stuff going on.
Yeah, I have LSU -14 too. I think this just keeps getting better and better every time. I don't know. I mean, look, I get they just lost Joe Burrow and like now their team is obviously different, but Missouri to me isn't very good. And they screwed me that week 1, man, because I had the under on Alabama. It looked good the whole game, and they went down the field and they called all 3 of their timeouts. They scored on the last play of the game just to lose by like 19. That's shameful. You're pathetic. You're a pathetic football team. And yeah, I think LSU gets it done here. I mean, I don't know, man. It's crazy. Like, how do you feel about KJ Costello right now? Because I know you're a Stanford guy. I know you and me used to sit in bars and we used to watch Stanford suck so bad. Was it because of David Shaw or was it because of KJ Costello? What do you think about Costello right now?
I mean, I think he's like a serviceable quarterback in a way. Is he like, I don't know, is he going to like win you games on his own? Like, no. I don't think he's that player that's going to like – there are players in college football where if you have them on your team is going to win like maybe 3, 4, 5 more games than they would have that transcend like how good the rest of your team is. And KJ Costello is absolutely not one of those transcendent players. Yeah. So, I mean, that's how I feel about KJ Costello. I mean,
I agree. I just wanted to see what you thought. So we're both on. Yeah, we're both on LSU -14. I have two of the other games I have as my paid thing. So unfortunately, to Alan Wang over here, he's like, Florida versus A&M. I'm not talking about it. I'm not saying anything because I have that as one of my paid plays. And then I also have South Carolina versus Vanderbilt as one of my pay games. So look, I can't talk about it and then just to the people who have already paid or anything like that. So I'm ignoring it. We already have people. Believe it or not, there are psychos who have already paid, and I appreciate it very, very much. But it's already there, so I'm not going to say anything. But those are two of the other 9 a.m. games, which I have over on betonphilwood.com. You can see the link.
Well, I got some picks, and again, I haven't seen your picks, and I would not do that before putting out my own. So let's go. Yeah, I'm going to go with South Carolina minus 13 points here. I'm taking another favorite. To me, this is just like South Carolina needs a win right now. They've lost 5 straight games. And I don't think they're 0-2. They're not an 0-2 team, I don't feel like. I feel like they are better than their record. Their last win actually came against Vanderbilt last season. They won 24-7. So I don't know. This feels just like a desperation win for South Carolina. Like if you drop to 0-3, like there's almost no turning back from that. And they've had 2 tough games. Like they lost to Tennessee. And then they actually hung in there with Florida. Not that they were like threatening to beat Florida, but it's like they were in that game for a little bit and didn't just roll over. So I think what we've seen from South Carolina, like they were in that Tennessee game too. They could have won. Like they might have should have won that. Like that was a kind of a weird back and forth game. So that's
they should have beaten Tennessee.
Yeah, that's kind of my feeling on South Carolina, that they're not as bad as their record, and they've kind of had 2 tough matchups. Where on the other side, you have Vandy, who has really shown me nothing this season to give me confidence. So it's under 2 touchdowns. I like this one, so I got 15 on it. So that's my take.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm not going to say anything on it, but what is your take since you mentioned Florida? What's your take on Kyle Trask right now? Since we talked about Costello and how he's a joke.
Well, not that Costello's a joke, like because he is a serviceable quarterback. Like that's a pretty good.
I was kidding, dude. I just know it breaks your little Stanford heart that he's like the best quarterback you've had in 2 decades.
What about Andrew Luck?
I mean, Andrew Luck's pretty much 2 decades old now, isn't he? When did Andrew Luck get into the league? 2011? All right, 1 decade. My bad.
KJ Costello's fine. Mm-hmm. But it's like you saw what happened the next week after they beat LSU.
Yeah.
But yeah, let's move on to the Florida game. I think that this how much do I have on this? I have 15 on Florida to cover. I'm taking a lot of favorites, but I really don't care. I think this season is a season to take favorites more than usual because of everything that's going on. I think talent will win out more so in a season like this than when you got a group of underdogs who can really band together and play a lot, like in an off season, and kind of surprise people. That there just wasn't that opportunity. So in the spread here, it's only -6.5. Like, and I'm kind of buying into the Florida hype. I know they're kind of the darling of the SEC East right now, that they're going to beat out Georgia and then win that division in the conference. And I kind of agree. Like, I think Trask has looked pretty good. I don't think he's at like Heisman levels, but he's looked very solid. And meanwhile, A&M, like, I don't really understand what they've done to warrant this spread that's, within a touchdown at 6.5. So, I mean, they got clobbered by Bama. I guess they were, it was like 14 all. Is that what we're hanging our hats on, that it was like tied in the second quarter? Is that where this is coming from? I mean, I know they're at home, but the home field advantage, what does that mean? Not really anything when the stadium's empty. So, yeah.
I think A&M has fans in the stands, though, because Texas has fans in the stands.
Yeah, they have some fans, but this is not like packed Kyle Field going in, like tough environment to play. Like, 20, even if it's 15%, 20%, that's very different than a full stadium. So I don't know. What are you getting on A&M? Because, like, they have a really solid roster. You have Kellen Mond. You have their well-coached, supposedly, of Jimbo Fisher, who should be able to coach talent well. Like, he did do at Florida State. He won a national championship. So, like Texas A&M should be good. But from what I've seen, like, they barely beat Vanderbilt. So And then they get clobbered by Alabama. And I think a lot of people are writing off, oh, you got clobbered by Alabama. That's fine. We'll give you the pass. Okay. Even if that's true, what happened in their other game? They squeaked out against Vanderbilt. So I don't know what have I seen from Texas A&M that gives me confidence that they're going to hang with this Florida team that has looked really good. And they haven't, played amazingly. But, South Carolina and who was the other win? Ole Miss. Like they've won both those games, and neither of those games were like they weren't threatening to lose any of those games. They weren't blowouts, but they were in control. So I got the Gators here.
I'm not going to say my pick, obviously, because this is what I have for one of my things. But I will say this: Florida's offense is great. Florida's defense is not. That's the only thing I can think is why the line is where it's at. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, and that's fine. Like I don't think their defense, hasn't been that great. But I mean, again, A&M put 17 points up against Vandy, so it's like,
no, I know.
You need to be great to stop A&M. Probably not.
Probably not. All right. Another one of these, we already mentioned it, but Tennessee, Georgia. Do you have a read on this game?
Yes, I have a play on this game, not on the spread, but
on the over-under.
Yes.
Are you going over?
Yes, I am. And I can
so am I. And I was I'm asking these leading questions because I can't figure out if I'm crazy or not to think that. But
it's pretty low. It's a low number too.
It's only at 42.5. And am I the only one who is realizing that the SEC isn't that good at defense this year?
That could
offense
be true.
Is way better than defense right now.
Yeah, that could be true. Again, it could be some of the COVID stuff. I can lay out my thoughts for this one because actually, how much do I have on this? I have 15. I feel pretty good about this one. And it was mainly, a lot of this is due to the Georgia-Auburn game last week. So I was on the under in that game because like Georgia and Auburn unders, I don't know what the trend was, but I was like, that has to hit. Like they always do. I think it was at 43.5. But I was worried at halftime. It was 24-3 at halftime. I was like, oh, damn, this is totally going over. And then they score 6 points. They combined for 6 points in the second half. And I think if Tennessee plays this game just a little bit closer than Auburn, then it has to go over because Georgia can't just sit on the ball and that they'll have to score. And I was actually impressed by Georgia's defense. I'm always so suspect of Georgia, especially last year, like that how they were like in the playoff conversation for so long, and you would watch them play and it was just gross. Like it wasn't good football. Like their defense, yes, give them credit, but like their offense has been really gross these past few seasons. But this game against Auburn, like they threw the ball down the field. Their receivers were making plays. I was impressed by like their offense kind of being I don't want to use the word explosive, but I think there is part of this Georgia offense that can be explosive where they don't just have to like rely on their offensive line to run the ball. Like I think that this Georgia team is just built differently than the ones we've seen the past few years. So because of that, I think they get into the 30s here, and then you only need like 10 points or so, something around there.
And that's
from Tennessee.
I'm thinking this game ends 31-21. Like I think this goes over by 10 points. I also have 15 on this. I think this goes over by like 10 points. The reason I didn't make this one of my 5 major plays of the week was because what if Georgia's defense is just so much better than I'm thinking? But I was on Georgia. I was on the under in week 1 when they played against Arkansas, and I was on Arkansas plus 26.5. And Kirby Smart is an asshole. I hate him because he decides on 4th and 3 with a minute 45 left to kick a field goal to put them up 27 offside on Arkansas. Rather than take the points off the board and kneel 3 times, he keeps the points on the board and puts his defense at risk of getting injured against Arkansas's offense with a minute 30 left. It made me lose the cover. Luckily, I still went under. But what I saw in that game was Georgia's offense struggled a little bit. And obviously, it was against Arkansas. It was week 1, COVID stuff, as you've been saying. But I still don't know if there's any way Tennessee's defense is going to be able to stop them. Like, what has Tennessee's defense done so far to be like, you know what, they're going to stop Georgia's offense? And Georgia's offense since the first half of that game against Arkansas has looked really good. Like, it has really picked it up. And so I think this over at 42.5 is just begging me to bet it. And you know what? Like, sometimes you want to fade the public. Other times, take the damn money. And for me, this one just feels like take the damn money.
Yeah, I mean, I'm with you. I'm right in lockstep with you, man. Like I think this is a Tennessee team that's offense has looked pretty good this season. Like better than we've seen it the past few seasons. Like I'm not really worried. I mean, Tennessee probably has a better offense than Auburn. Like that's fair to say. I mean, Auburn's offense is downright disgusting.
Yeah,
like it is. That's a talk about a gross offense.
Yeah.
I was giving Georgia crap, but man, Auburn is like sluggish. Like Bo Nix is like it's not good. It's not good.
Well, and it's funny because you mentioned that. I'm taking the under in the Auburn Arkansas game at 48. I only have 10 on it, but I don't think they're good enough to score 30 points against Arkansas, and I don't think Arkansas is good enough to score 14 against Auburn.
Well, are we migrating right into that game?
Well, I'm just saying it because you mentioned Auburn's team.
Yeah,
and I was like, that's where my mind was going.
I'm on the under too. I think Auburn unders this year are so tasty, and it's at 48. So you have that cushion there too. It's not one of these low like 42, 43 point unders. Yeah, I mean, is that what you're playing too?
Yeah, I'm doing the same thing. I don't understand. Auburn's offense has done nothing for me, and Arkansas's offense certainly hasn't done anything for me. Look, I know Arkansas beat Mississippi State last week, but they beat them 21-14.
Exactly, and I think like you look at Mississippi State, they put what was it, like 44 points on the board against LSU. We talked about that game, but then they go in and they only score 2 touchdowns against Arkansas. Like Arkansas is doing something right defensively. Auburn, I still think, even though they kind of got walloped by Georgia, I think they still have a pretty formidable defense. Mm-hmm. So to get to 48, I don't know what the offense would have to overcome a lot to get to that number. So you're
looking at 28-21 pretty much has to be both teams have to hit 20, and I do not see Arkansas hitting 20.
I think this is a field goal fest. I think especially with Auburn they didn't score a touchdown against Georgia. And they got down there a couple times. I mean, they had a lot of mistakes. It's a field goal fest. Until Auburn proves otherwise, like I'm going to be on Auburn unders, just all like without just shoot it without even looking at the total.
I agree.
Like I'm just thinking, like lock me in next week. If this one hits, whoever Auburn's playing, I don't even know what they're playing. I don't know what the total will be set at, but I will go under it.
Look, I agree with you. Let me see who they are playing because now I want to just see so that I can put you on the spot when they end up. They're playing South Carolina next week.
Oh, okay.
No, which I don't know because South Carolina to me right now feels like a good over team.
Yeah, well, and hopefully that will get the line set pretty high.
Yeah, maybe you'll get like a 55 or something, and you can be like hammer.
Yes, give it to me.
Well, all right. So I have 2 more bets, and then the Miami game, which I've already made public, but I'll talk about that one here too. So I don't know how many more you have, but I'm just letting you know that that's all I got, so that you can prepare.
Okay, I got. I think I've got at least 3 more.
Okay.
Still got my lock of the week coming.
All right. Hit me with something. I don't care what.
You want it now? I thought you were going to move on to something. Let's go.
Well, no, I have. Like I said, I'm going to let you kind of lead it and see if our games come up. I have Miami and then 2 other bets. So
okay. Well, I got Texas San Antonio going to BYU. This is the lock of the week. BYU minus 35. I got $20 on it.
It's easy.
It's a big spread, but man, this is so easy. I think UTSA is one of the worst teams in all of college football, or the FBS at least. Mm-hmm. They've lost to UAB. They almost lost to Middle Tennessee, who probably is the worst team in college football. And then like BYU has just been blowing out teams, just like obliterating teams. And I'm so in on BYU. I bet on them. I think after their first game, I think I had them in the Navy. I had them against LA Tech too. And the biggest reason for BYU this season is because they only have 8 games on their schedule.
Yep.
8 games instead of the usual 11 or 12.
Well, no, 11. Now they have 10 actually because San Diego State and Boise State are both playing now.
Well, great. Okay. That's kind of why I was betting on early. You'll hear me out.
No,
I think that's great for them. They should be stoked about that. But pretty much they had on their schedule, they had Utah, who they can no longer play because Pac-12 is keeping it within the Pac-12. They had Michigan State, Big Ten, keeping with the Big Ten. And they had Missouri, who cares? It is an SEC team, though. 3 Power 5 games where they can really prove themselves because they're looking good. They want to go to a New Year's Six Bowl. Like, this is BYU's chance. And this chance does not come often to BYU. And I think they are motivated. They are going to take just every single opportunity to make it clear that they are a dominant football team. And on top of all this motivation stuff, with like they lost those 3 Power 5 games on their schedule, they're just a good team. Like they're playing really well. Louisiana Tech, Miami fans, you probably know Louisiana Tech. Our bowl game, they shut us out in our bowl game last year. Louisiana Tech is no like joke. They're not just a random team from one of these group of 5 conferences that will roll over. Like that's like a pretty good team. And BYU killed them, like stomped them. And then again, on the other side, you have UTSA, like might be the worst team in all of college football. So like those 2 things combined, and it's at 35. Sign me up.
Yeah,
Sign me up.
I got 15 on it. This was one of my other bets. I said this when the March Madness didn't happen this year. I could have gave a shit about 63 teams. The only team I felt bad for was Dayton, because Dayton's never going to be as good as they were last year ever again. In the history of their school, they will never be that good again. It's kind of like what we saw with Butler the 2 years they made it to the Final Four. It's like what we saw Wichita State when they made it to the championship game. That was Dayton this year. This is BYU's year. And unfortunately for them, they don't get their regular schedule because of all of the COVID stuff that's going on. And this is something, and like I've said this, I was a Division I cross-country runner. Nonsense sport doesn't matter. But the thing is, when you start canceling things and stuff like that, the Alabamas and the Georgias and the Auburns and the Michigan, they're all going to be fine. It's the smaller schools with the less known players and things like that, and the smaller sports that go away first. Those are the ones that get hit, and everybody will be like, oh, you'll get your football back. Okay, but we're not going to get our lacrosse back or our cross country. And BYU is never going to be this good again. I really think this is the best BYU team possibly ever. And I know that I think they had like great teams in the 50s or whatever it was, but this team is phenomenal right now. And the problem is they don't have a single game on their schedule that allows them to have any type of capability of proving that. They went out and they got Michigan State, they got Utah, and they got Missouri because they knew exactly.
Had Arizona State also and Minnesota. Like they had 5 Power 5
and
teams on their schedule.
They knew with Zach Wilson at quarterback and with what they were able to accomplish last year, this year they could be competing for a top 4 spot as a non-Power 5 team. And they were going to go out and play every single team and try to go undefeated and say, we did everything we possibly could. I feel so bad for this BYU team because they're the ones who get screwed. And the frustrating part is, and again, it is what it is, but with the Pac-12 teams, USC will be fine. I mean, look, USC wasn't very good anyway, but their football team isn't going anywhere. UCLA, they'll be fine. Stanford, Oregon, they'll all be fine. BYU, not necessarily is going to be fine. Like, they need this type of notoriety and everything. Granted, they're always going to have the kids who go to BYU because it's the biggest Mormon college in America, but it's you're not necessarily going to get those kids who want to go there just to play football. And I think this is their national spotlight year, and good for them for saying to the Mountain West, screw you, we're not playing your games. We're just going to go play football, because what has happened to BYU? Nothing. And guess what? The Mountain West is playing anyway. So it was just nonsense. I feel awful for BYU. And this year, because they can't play the Mountain West conference schedule and they can't play all the other teams they're supposed to play, they are on a mission to beat the living shit out of every single team that they step on the field against. And sorry, UTSA Roadrunners, you're about to get your doors blown off big time this week. Big time. This is going to be, I mean, Will, let's be real. We're probably going to sit down and watch this entire freaking game, aren't we?
I can't wait. I love watching BYU. And I think Zach Wilson is even getting some like Heisman like eyes, like not even being facetious. Like he's a Heisman candidate right now.
Yeah.
I know we're very early in, but yeah, I'm surprised you don't have 20 on this, because I'm all in on this BYU team.
Essentially, think of it as my other 5 bets are $20 bets. Having 6 $20 bets in a week isn't very often. Let's just put it that way. So I won't have any 20s on here, but that was one of my other bets. What's your other game? Because I have Miami, like I said, and then I have one other. What's your other?
I think we talked about this. I got two other ones and then Miami. So Kansas State is going to play TCU, and TCU's favored by 9 points. And I just think this is way too high. So I got Kansas State +9. And I think this is just a line that's inflated due to TCU just beating Texas. And TCU almost didn't beat Texas. Like, Texas fumbled at the 1 yard line. And if they had punched it into the end zone, they go up and likely go on to win the game. Can't say for sure, but like, it wasn't like they could have gone either way. And I think if that one play doesn't go TCU's way, this is probably at like 4.5 or 5. Mm-hmm. Max Duggan did look really, really good. And he could be the real deal and just like blow out Kansas State, but I'm not quite there yet because Kansas State, like, we have to remember Kansas State did beat Oklahoma. And I know we've talked about Oklahoma, and I'm kind of giving them a pass that they weren't really themselves. And maybe they aren't that good this year. We'll find out. But I think Oklahoma is still Oklahoma. You have to remember, Kansas State beat Oklahoma last year, like, with Jalen Hurts, like, with that team that went to the playoffs. Like, that was their only loss up until the playoffs was to Kansas State. Kansas State, they're sitting at 2-0 in conference play. They lost that silly game to Arkansas State. In that week 1. Again, week 1, if anyone's handing out passes for week 1, it's me. Because all these teams that have looked terrible in week 1.
6, Will.
Right. Or whatever. Like, not even weeks. Teams' first games. Like, I'm giving out passes. If your first game, you know, like, if you're LSU and you lost to Mississippi State, like, hey, that's fine, man. If you're Kansas State, you lost to Arkansas State, hey, that's fine. They went and beat Oklahoma. Like, they already, you know, kind of fix the ship, right the ship. I don't know why this is at 9. So I'm going Kansas State +9 because they could lose. Like, Kansas State losing by a touchdown. Hey, I'll take it. Like, Kansas State could win this game. I don't think TCU, just because they beat Texas, is now some like favorite to win the Big 12 or even like to be in the conversation to be in that Big 12 championship game. I'm not there with TCU yet. I think. Yeah, I don't think Texas. I don't think Texas is a really mediocre team. I mean, we can't kind of like. Don't you think that's weird? Like 9 points for TCU?
Oh, it's excessive. It's excessive, especially since Kansas State hasn't been bad this year. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like we're sitting here going, "Oh,
they dropped the game to the Sun Belt."
Like, they beat Texas Tech.
Big joke.
They beat Oklahoma. Yeah, they lost Arkansas State. Yeah, I don't think they beat Texas Tech last week if Alan Bowman doesn't get hurt. But still, I mean, TCU, it's just, again, it goes to this preseason ranking BS. It's like when Appalachian State beat Michigan. Michigan was ranked that year. Michigan ended up going like 5-7. It doesn't mean they were good just because they like, and that's how I feel about Texas right now. They're just, Sam Ehlinger's fine. Their defense, woof. Yikes, yikes, yikes. So I don't know, man. I kind of like K-State here too, but I'm not on that game.
Yeah, I just think, how much do I have on this? I have 10 on it only. So it's just one of those where I'm like, that line jumped out, and I just think it's a clear, just inflated line from the Texas hype.
Do you want to know my other game this week?
Sure. I got one more before. Yeah, and we might have the same one. I think it might be our principal play here on the College Football Pick'em Pod. Maybe it's not.
Well, maybe not. I'm going to start doing the Fighting Irish theme song. Bum, 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 bum. Florida State is awful. They might be.
I consider.
They might be. What'd you say?
I considered this.
They might be one of the 10 worst teams in college football. They should have lost to Jacksonville State last week. They got lucky to escape. I understand that Miami is better this year. You lose to your rival by 42 points. Remember, Miami never lost by 42, even when Florida State had Jameis and won the national championship. You just lost by 42 points to your rival. You're humiliating. You're a disgrace to your alumni. You're a joke. You're fraudulent. You're terrible. And then you almost lose to Jacksonville State to follow it up. Maybe, just maybe, Jimbo Fisher leaving Florida State wasn't the best thing for Florida State. It kind of reminds me of how all the Cowboys fans said that Jason Garrett was the problem, and then they just lost 49-38 to the Browns. Where's Jason Garrett? Because I don't think he's on that sideline. Maybe it's something else. Maybe it's just starting to become.
Yeah, it was getting bad. Yeah, it was getting bad when Jimbo was there. Like it was. Yeah, I mean, that's why he kind of he had to go. He wanted to go because there's a lot of problems at Florida State.
Yeah,
and what are you seeing with that right now? Is it's 20.5?
I have it at 20.5.
Okay, I will actually hop on for 10 because it's under the 3 touchdowns. So count me in. I think Notre Dame. They had a really slow start against Duke. That was like, whoa, what is going on? But I think again, week 1 or game 1, whatever you want to call it, I think Notre Dame will take care of this. So I think
they're going to kill them. And look, like I understand that Mike Norvell wasn't able to be at the game for Miami and all of that, and he had to call it from somewhere. I don't care. It's just bad. They're just so bad this year. They have no offensive rhythm. They have nothing there. And I think with Notre Dame, again, I think Notre Dame, like they always will be, is overrated because they're Notre Dame, and we have to be told how great they are every year because that's what they are. And they didn't look great against Duke. They killed South Florida, and now they haven't played in a while. I still think that they just wiped. I think every ACC school is going to wipe the floor with Florida State this year. Maybe with the exception. I don't know who Florida State plays, so I got to look at Florida State's schedule.
Maybe like Wake Forest?
Maybe with the exception. No, they don't play Wake. So there you go. The exception of Wake, who they don't play, Syracuse, who they don't play, and then Duke, who they don't play till last week of the season, Florida State's going to get their butts kicked every time they step on the field. So I love Notre Dame here. I got 15 on it. I like them to cover this less than 3 touchdown spread. And also, screw Florida State. Also, I hope Bobby Bowden ends up getting healthy because I know he's in the hospital with COVID-19. So I do hope that he ends up recovering because, legendary head coach for the Florida State Seminoles. That's something that transcends. But the rest of Florida State, everybody who actually is on that sideline right now, you're a joke. You're sad. Pathetic. And also, I loved watching all of you cry when you got decimated 52-10. And every senior on Florida State, you never beat the Miami Hurricanes. You never did it.
Preach.
Just saying. All right, go ahead. What's your other game? Then we'll do Miami.
I'm with it. This is one that I thought you might be on, and maybe this is a premium pick here that you're not mentioning. But Alabama's playing Ole Miss, and I think it was last year we were watching this game. Or maybe it was 2018. I forget which year it was. And we had bet the under because they set the over-under was, I think, at like 75 or something.
It was 77.
77. Okay. Well, it's not quite that high, so maybe they've caught on. It's at 70, though. It's still pretty high. And what ends up happening in these games is – first quarter, it's like 14-14 or like 21-14. And we're like, okay, this thing is going over 100 points or something. But then Alabama usually runs away, and then it's usually like, 35-14 at halftime. And you're like, okay, well, it's still on pace. And then maybe there's like 10 points in the second half. Like Alabama pulls its starters. They stop scoring. Ole Miss can't play against Alabama's back, like even their backups on defense are like still like NFL dudes who are really good at football, and Ole Miss still can't score. I remember we were watching this game, and it was just kept the live line was like it went to like 79.
It went to like 87.
Then it went to like
I remember
82.
We were like,
yeah. Then it went to 85. Then it went to 87, and we were just like, all right, like $20. $20. Like each time it went up like increments of 3 points, $20. It ended up going under the original line. I think it ended up at like 65 points or something. Let's look up.
That was the game where Ole Miss only scored 7 points, and it was on that bomb pass on like their second play from scrimmage. And I think they lost the game like 49-7 or something like that. They got killed. Now Will's looking it up.
Yeah. Oh, wait, I think it was in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and 62-7 was
the spread was at 77, and it went under the original spread by 8 points.
Went under 70.
I know, but what I'm saying is the original spread was 77, and we were getting it at like 87 or something live because
Yes.
if you look at that game, Ole Miss scored on like their second play of the game and then never scored again.
I will say last year, Alabama won 59-31, so it hit 90.
This is why I'm scared of this game, though. Alabama's defense this year isn't as good as it's been in the past.
Yeah, I just think 70, and again, I'm realizing that like they scored 90 last. I still think like I don't think Ole Miss is putting up 30 points, and I think especially this year, like I think teams are going to pull starters earlier, and we've already seen it. Teams are going to pull starters earlier than they usually do, and Nick Saban would the fourth quarter you wouldn't see the starting, like you wouldn't see Tua in the fourth quarter at all, and I think. Especially now, like if you have this game locked up, maybe like early third quarter, you might see starters getting pulled because like now it's not only injury on the field, it's like, man, like if I'm sending my receiver out, like he could get coughed on by the defensive back and get COVID. And so it's like even more reason to like keep your starters on the sideline once you have a game locked. So I do like the under 70 here. I only got $10 on it because I get it. Like Ole Miss could score a lot. Alabama puts up a lot of points. But 70, I think I feel good about it.
Yeah, and so I'm avoiding this one because I'm just a little bit concerned about it. But I would probably play the under here, Alabama. One of my prized moments so far this season was when I talked about the Clemson Citadel game and took the under of 52.5 in that one. And I was getting messages left and right because it was 42-0 at halftime. And I was like, trust me, it's going under. It's going under. It's going under. And everything I wrote about how the game was going to play is exactly how it played. Trevor Lawrence never came back out on the field in the second half. They only scored 10 points, or they scored 7 points in the entire second half. They win the game 49-0, and it went under easily. That could very easily happen here, but Ole Miss has scored a lot of points so far this year, and Alabama's defense has given up some points. So I'm a little concerned that Ole Miss gets into the 20s, and if Ole Miss gets into the 20s, I think this one goes over 70. So I'm avoiding this one a little bit, but I get it. It's a principal play. I understand. Alabama's on the field, and you have a number that's 70 or higher. You have to take the under. I get it. All right, let's talk Canes because they are playing Clemson in the biggest game in a long time. And I already wrote about this for my website. So this one, anybody can go see. You can view it. You can see my pick. You can see my reasoning. It's actually a pretty long article. What?
What about all Canes or sponsor?
Sponsor? Oh no, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where it's at. You got to ask Stefan. I don't think Stefan remembers we exist. He said that my rant about Georgia Tech after we lost because we couldn't make a field goal was funny. We have swagger, but we don't have legs is a line I used in that rant. So that was fun. But I've been ranting. Yeah. Well done, Will. Well done. Miami's performance last year is why we can't have fans in the stands, which although DeSantis did just say, you can have as many fans in the stands as you want. I don't care. So, hey, Miami might be having full stadiums the rest of the year. We don't know yet. But I haven't been ranting very much this year because Miami's looked really, really good. That demolishment, whatever the word you want to use is, make one up. Whatever they did to Florida State might have set the Florida State football program back like 15 years. Like that was just humiliating. That was a disgrace. That was the biggest beatdown ever. And it is. It's the biggest beatdown in the history of the rivalry, which is awesome. D'Eriq King has been phenomenal. They got to play Clemson now. And I think, and I don't know how you feel about this, but pretty much I became a Canes guy when I went to Miami in 2010. And so since 2010, every time we get into a big game, it still feels like we need a lot of luck on our side. We need something to really go right. Our offense is never good enough. We need the defense to get this. We need to make sure that we're in the lead early. Malik Rozier, whatever you want to call him.
I was going to say, yeah.
no, N'Kosi Perry, was it Jaron Williams last year? Like it always feels like we don't have it. This year, I don't feel like we need luck. I don't think we're going to win this game. I really don't give us much of a chance at all because I think Clemson is just that much better than us. But this is the first time we're going into a game where I'm like, I feel like I'm going to watch a real football game. I don't feel like I'm going to sit there and be like, okay, if we don't get out to a 14-0 lead, we are screwed. I feel like there's actually a chance here for us. to at least keep this one close. So I was on the Canes plus 14, but what do you think?
Yeah, this one's tough, and I agree with everything you said. Shout out Brad Kaya, toss him in there too. Ja'Cory Harris, Stephen Morris, just all of our friends that we followed over the past decade essentially. And D'Eriq King is different. Like I've always said, because you look at NFL teams, like you see Miami players at every position, pretty much. Tight end, receiver, especially running backs. A lot of players on defense. Our defense is always usually pretty strong. But like, how many quarterbacks are you seeing? Like, I remember seeing Stephen Morris. Did I just cut out? I think I did.
No,
I
you're
remember
good.
seeing.
You're good. I'm here.
I remember seeing Stephen Morris on the sideline in Eagles jersey. I was like, hell yeah! Like as like a backup quarterback. I don't know if he came in, but it's always been like, do we have a guy at quarterback? Like, and the answer's been no. Like we've tried and tried, and it's always my biggest mystery. Like, how is it hard to like recruit? And I know some of these guys have been highly touted coming out of high school, but like, it shouldn't like the sell to be like you're going to be like the top quarterback or like a top 5 quarterback in the country, and you're going to bring this Miami program back to like the national championship conversation. Like, do you want to be that guy? Like, there should be a line out the door for every high school quarterback. Like, being like, yes, I want to be the guy. I want to be the guy. And of course, some are going to go to Alabama. Some are going to go to Clemson or Oklahoma or Ohio State or Florida or even Florida State. But like, there should be one of these top tier guys that wants to come and like bring Miami back for like finally. D'Eriq King, like I get like he's a transfer. He's a senior. Like this is his last year. We're not going to get D'Eriq King next year, but he just might be the guy. Like finally having that top tier talent that like I was talking about KJ Costello. Is he a serviceable quarterback? Yeah, I think so. I think he's pretty good. Is he going to be a guy that wins your team like 5+ games? Like because of him, you're winning 4 or 5 more games. And like for Miami, who was so bad last year, like losing to FIU at home, like that bad, like the depths of the darkest places this program has ever seen, like D'Eriq King could be that guy where like, yeah, our defense is still pretty good. We do have some great skilled players that we can get out in space. Like we have a serviceable offensive line. I think that's probably my biggest concern. Especially going up against Clemson's defensive front, and their pass rush is always insane. That's my like big concern for this game. But back to D'Eriq King, like he could be that guy, and I'm so excited. And like I haven't been this excited about Miami football in so long. I remember like the Notre Dame game in whatever that was, like 2017, or we just blew Notre Dame out. That was big. But then like you go on and get crushed by Clemson. Like it's happened before. Like Clemson got Al Golden fired. Clemson has like whenever we think we're getting there, Clemson has always been that team to be like, sorry, Miami.
Nope.
Like, you're just not quite there yet. And like that's been with all of these guys that we just mentioned at quarterback. That these guys that we haven't felt like they are like maybe a top 10 quarterback in the country. Like I've not felt about D'Eriq King as I've felt about any of those other guys at any point. Like even when Malik Roser was 10-0, where we like, wow, he's like, that's our dude. We're like, it was a little bit of imposter syndrome. It was a little bit of like, we probably don't deserve to be number 2 in the country. Like, I like seeing that little small 2 next to our school and like all the promos and ads. Like, that's fun. But like, you knew, like, we squeaked out that win against Florida State. Like, I think, was that the same year as the Duke game where we, with the kick return? I think that was the same year. Like, it was like, we shouldn't really have been 10-0, and it kind of caught up to us in the pick game. I'm sorry, this is a big rant, but like, this could be it. So like, I don't have a good pick on this game. I don't have a good read because like every time we think we're here, Clemson stuffs it. But we also have this huge difference maker in D'Eriq King he's unlike anyone we've had. So I don't know where to go with this one.
All right, here's my rebuttal. 1, it is pathetic that it takes Miami getting a quarterback. Now keep in mind, Bernie Kosar, Vinny Testaverde, Jim Kelly, Ken Dorsey. It took a transfer from Houston to give us our best quarterback in almost 20 years. a transfer from Houston. Now, look, Brad Kaya wasn't bad. Brad Kaya should have never went pro. He messed up. He made a stupid mistake. He should have never went pro. Look, he made a lot of money. He's killing it right now. He's doing whatever he's doing. I saw him in LA once at a venue.
But is he? But even with Brad Kaya, you're never like he's the.
No, but he was the best quarterback that we had, and he could have been, if he comes back for his senior year, he very well could have been that next guy. But what I'm saying is, it's pathetic that a university with the history that the University of Miami has, that we needed a transfer from Houston to bring us back. Why is Houston landing D'Eriq King in the first place and we're not? Why did I have to sit there and watch N'Kosi Perry and Stephen Morris and Malik Rozier? Why did I have to watch a QB battle between N'Kosi Perry and Malik Rozier, or between N'Kosi Perry and Jaron Williams, when a guy like D'Eriq King existed? Why was I watching that as a Miami fan? It doesn't make any sense. So I am all about D'Eriq King. I think D'Eriq King, and this is what it always comes down to, I think, especially at the college level when you're trying to prove people wrong. You got a chip on your shoulder, you can do anything you need to do. Malik Rozier never had a chip on his shoulder. Malik Rozier, he came in, and because he started succeeding so quickly at Miami, it was like, oh, he's got it. He's doing great. Everything's awesome. D'Eriq King has been undervalued his entire life. And now he's in a position where people are finally starting to notice, and I don't think he's going to miss this opportunity. Miami's going to lose this game. I do believe that. But it's going to be the first time that we play a game against Clemson and we don't come out of it going, oh, it's over. I'm going to warn everybody right now. Miami secondary is a little shaky. This over-under is set at 64. I think it's a trap. I think Vegas wants you to hit this over really, really hard. 35-28 final does not put you over. Just keep that in mind. I'm staying away from the over-under, but I like the Canes to cover 14. That was going to
be my play, actually, was on the under.
On the under.
Just because Clemson hasn't looked like they will get the job done, but I don't see Clemson this year being the team that's smoking people. And like we already said, like Trevor Lawrence didn't even play in the second half in one of their games. And I don't think that's the case here with Miami. Like, I hope it's not the case that they're pulling Trevor Lawrence in the second half. That would be terrible for Miami. But I don't think this is like the drop 50, drop 60 on their own. I can see, I think Clemson's been comfortable. Well, I remember they played Wake Forest, and I think I took the over.
37-13, and it only hit 50 points. And then even in their last game, they beat Virginia 41-23. That total is at 64.
41s, 37s, and that's not playing Miami, which has a better defense, we hope. I mean, we'll find out. But, Miami's defense should be a little bit more difficult for Clemson. And so I don't know. I think, they're going to run the ball a lot with ETN, and we're going to run the ball a lot.
I lost William. I lost you. I lost you.
I was just saying we run the ball. We were just saying we run the ball a bunch. Clemson runs the ball a bunch, even with these great quarterbacks. D'Eriq King runs himself. I think, we could definitely see a game here where even if it's 35-21, wouldn't want to see that final, but something like that, or even
what if the Canes win 35-21?
That could happen too. So that was actually, because the spread is tough for me. I don't want to bet Clemson minus 14. Could never do that. But if Clemson wins by more than 2 touchdowns, let's say they win by 17 points. That doesn't mean that's not the sky is falling for Miami. It's not. Now if it's we get blown out and it's 49-0, it's a different conversation. But I think 14, where I think I've seen it 14.5 some places. It's an okay. I'm not feeling great either way on it. So I do, like you're saying, I think the under, and then the point I just made about, I think Clemson's not really themselves. And they're going to keep it under. If they keep it under 40, I feel pretty good about it.
I think this game ends 35-24. That's my score prediction. Clemson wins, but 35-24. look, anything under 14, I'm not taking it. 13 and a half, 13, 12, whatever. I'm not taking Miami. 14 though, 2 touchdowns. I'll take it because I think this is different. And I've been burned so many times. Look, it's got to happen one day, right? I mean, it's got to happen one day, but maybe not. I don't know. One quick question I got for you, Will, because it came in here in the chat. Morgan Ashley said, thoughts on over a 50.5 in the LSU versus Missouri game. Does the change in venue change anything? You got anything on that?
I can't really talk about the venues this year, I don't think have that much of an impact. I mean, I guess that would mainly influence the travel of the team, so you might lose. It's just hard to say. I don't know. I don't think the venue, but 50 and a half, I'd probably go over just because I think LSU is probably going to put up like 35, 42, something like that on their own. Like I could see this game being like 42-14 or like 40-7.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like the over in this game as well. I would say that that's probably where I would go with this. I don't really see a situation where it's like much lower scoring. So even if it doesn't go really high over, it's going to at least be close. So even if it goes under, it'll be close to going over. Whereas I think this could blow the over out of the water. So that's what I have on that. Will is back. Will was frozen. Will is in my old apartment and he's just dying over there. The internet, I guess, is coming back to haunt him because he's stealing from me. But Will, why don't you run through your bets one more time? Tell us how much you put on each of them so people know what to bet.
Okay. Hopefully I have them all. But yes, on Thursday, I got Tulane plus 6.5 just because they've played 3 games. Houston played 0.
Oh, no, he froze again. Well, you can't be freezing during this time. You have to wake up. You have to come back. You have to rattle this off. He's back now.
Tulane plus 6.5. I got the over in Louisville, Georgia Tech on Friday night. I got South Carolina minus 13 against Vandy. Oklahoma minus 2.5 against Texas. I also got the under 72 in that game.
There's BYU minus 35. That's his lock of the week. He is frozen again. Did great the whole episode. It's just because I want him to end the damn thing, and he won't end. He's got to really drag this out. I don't know what happened. It's that LA internet, baby. That's how it works. He's got BYU minus 35, lock of the week. What else you got?
Florida minus 6.5. I got the Georgia Tennessee over 43. The under in Arkansas Auburn. Kansas State plus 9.5 against TCU. Alabama Ole Miss under. LSU minus 14 against Missouri. That's an insane spread. Got $20 on that one. And then finally, I got the Miami Clemson under. What number are you seeing that at?
63.5 now. I think he's frozen again. You also had Notre Dame minus 20.5, which you didn't say, so I put a check mark next to it.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. You have 63.5. You like that under?
Yes.
Okay. All right, here's what I got. I got the Texas Oklahoma over 72. So the only one Will and I disagreed on this week. I got VT plus 5, NC State plus 9, LSU minus 14, Tennessee, Georgia over 42.5, Auburn, Arkansas under 48, BYU minus 35, Notre Dame minus 20.5, Canes plus 14. And for my 5 best bets, including plus a bet on Thursday night, check out the link in the description here. Go to betonphilwood.com in my college football picks article. You can find my picks of the week. I have my top 5 college football picks.
It's really reasonably priced too.
It's so cheap. It's so cheap. I hope people understand that.
Yeah.
It's $15 for college football. It's $15 for NFL, or it's $25 for my 5 best picks of college football, my 5 best picks of NFL. You're getting 10 picks for $25. There's people who will charge you $30 a pick. Look, if I start going crazy, if I'm doing really great, if I'm making millions and millions of dollars for everybody, we might have to raise that money up, because look, I'm the Walmart right now. I'm literally saying, here comes my rollback prices. Come take this for 99 cents. And then for the Thursday, Friday, you'd get 2 picks. And I believe, I got to check actually what it is. I believe we set it at $5, but right now, if you use the promo code BOP25, you get 25% off. So you're paying, you can get for $18.75. Is it $18.75? Yeah.
Well, it's $3.75 for the dollar pick, or for the $5 pick.
or you could get 1875 and get 10 picks, 5 college football, 5 pro for this week. Test it out. If it doesn't work, if you don't like it, if you think that it's stupid, if you think my picks suck, if you think the models are ugly, you cannot ever use it again. But it's just for this weekend. Might as well try it out now while the getting is good, if you will. Will is frozen. I'm happy we're able to do this. I'm happy we're back. It's week one of the college football. I made a joke
about ugly models when I was frozen.
There you go. It was a good joke. But college football pick'em pod week 1, college football week 6. But hey, half the teams haven't even started playing yet. So what the hell do we all know? Will, you got anything else you want to add in here before I let you go? Or are you going to freeze on me again? He froze on me again. All right, we're done.
Out of here.
We're out of here. Goodbye, Will. Go home.